Hot Hoops is heating up as the men's basketball team gets ready for its biggest contest of the season. Meanwhile, the women's train continues to plow through every MAC opponent it faces. And welcome to episode 2 of Hot Hoops alongside Dylan Fearon. I'm Ryan Chichester. Dylan, let's start with the men's team. Manhattan is up next at home tonight. 5th place Manhattan going against 6th place Quinnipiac. Just how important is this game for the Bobcats?
This is my 5th year at Quinnipiac. This is probably one of the most important games the program will play at my time here. We're talking about a team that's trying to have a bye in the MAC tournament. That's top 5 in the conference. Quinnipiac's currently 6th out of 11, one game behind Manhattan for 5th, and they play tonight. So if Quinnipiac loses this game tonight, they're now 2 games short of that 5th and final bye spot for the MAC tournament in Albany, which is huge because you only play 3 games instead of 4 potentially. So it's a huge game. If they can win, then they're tied with Manhattan for 5th. They're ahead on the head-to-head tiebreaker after tonight's win with 3 games to go. So if they lose, Ryan, they're 2 games back with 3 to go, making it very, very tough to get that 5th bye spot. They have to win this game tonight.
And the last regular season game of the season will be in Manhattan, so that could be an even bigger matchup. But for now, just keeping to tonight, what do you think is an individual matchup on the floor that could decide this game?
Well, we look at Quinnipiac a lot and we talk about guard play against other teams as good backcourt players. But tonight I'm looking at the front court. Chase Daniels against Paulie Pollicap of Manhattan. He's a sophomore. He's 6'8". He runs the floor very well. He's 1st in the MAC in field goal percentage and in blocks per game, 5th in rebounds per game. So he is going to give Quinnipiac and Chase Daniels a tough time inside tonight. And of course, look at someone like Chase Daniels, who's averaging 13 points per game in his last 4 contests. He's been good. He's gotten that 1,000 points for his career. And since coming back from that leave of absence, he's played very well off the bench. He's shown he can play, and produce well in just 25 minutes. And Paulie Pollicap's good inside. So both guys can run the floor. Both guys, have multiple post moves inside and defend well. So that's the matchup I'm looking forward to the most. We talk about guard play a lot with Cam Young and Jacob Bergoni, but really the post presence of both of these guys interests me a lot.
So just digging deeper into the Jaspers, this is the Bobcats' first matchup with Manhattan this season. What's something else you can tell us about Manhattan and what to look out for?
The important thing with Manhattan is that they defend very well and they turn you over really quickly. And they're going to press tonight. So Quinnipiac's got to be aware of the press, and they've got to be aware of the fact that Manhattan is not going to let up on defense at all. The Jaspers struggle to score, even though they have guys like Zane Waterman and Rich Williams, but defensively, they are one of the best teams in the conference and one of the best teams probably in the Northeast, at defending the perimeter. So watch out for them. They're going to play good defense. It's going to be a low-scoring game tonight. I predict both teams in the 60s in this one.
Manhattan can also shoot the 3. Tops in the MAC in 3-point percentage. They shot 14 of 28 from beyond the arc in their last game.
They seem to have a good mix of youth and experience. Zane Waterman's a senior. Rich Williams felt like he's been there forever. And then they have the youth in sophomores like Tony Capuano and Paulie Pollicap. It's a good mix. Steve Masiello's been there for a long time now. He's taken this program to 2 NCAA tournaments back-to-back a couple of years ago. And they're right in the thick of things for that last bye spot, so it should be a great game.
And for the Bobcats, they're looking for a mix of some depth. You have Andrew Robinson, who's missed all of the last 4 games during this 4-game losing streak, was still in a walking boot as of yesterday. Right. And then you have Alan Chigo, whose minutes have basically disappeared during this 4-game losing streak. So where do the Bobcats get some depth?
Well, they're not going to be able to get any. I mean, they're just going to have to play with 6 or 7 guys. It seems like Baker Dunleavy, hasn't put Alan Chiga into that rotation as much in conference play, and so they're really going with 6 guys. 7 guys if you include Aaron Robinson. But without Andrew Robinson, that's a 3-and-D guy off the bench that can really help you and give guys some rest, like a Jacob Bergoni, like a Rich Kelly, like an Isaiah Washington, whatever you want. But with him out in that boot, and with Alan Chiga not getting that many minutes in the rotation, things are tough for Quinnipiac, and depth is hard to come by. But another thing, Ryan, that just reminds me of last year's team a little bit is last year's team was 7-7, 14 games in. And back then, last year, they had a 20-game max schedule. They lost 7 straight to end the year. This is a team now at 6 that was 6-4 and is now 6-8, and a loss tonight in a tough game. Looking at 6-9. It just reminds me of last year. They started pretty well, and then they fell off heading into Albany. And Baker Dunleavy cannot allow that to happen this year. A win tonight, get to 7-8, and then maybe win 2 out of your last 3 to head into Albany, and you're looking at 9 conference wins, possibly that bye spot, and you're comfortable and you're feeling good about yourself. Unlike last year, lost the last 6 games of the regular season and went into a game against Niagara with no hopes of winning at all.
So real quick, does the script turn? Does the Bobcats, unlike last season, stop this losing streak and get a win tonight?
I think they can win tonight. It's going to depend. I mean, if Jacob Bergoni has that shot going, he was only 1 for 7 from 3. last game against Niagara. So this is a team that's lost 4 in a row. They got to pick up the pieces. They lost to 4 teams that were ahead of them in the standings. Manhattan is just 1 game above them. I think Quinnipiac can pull this out at home. I think that's the tiebreaker there. The teams are pretty even. They've beaten similar teams. They've lost similar teams. I think being at home is going to help Quinnipiac tonight. And we've seen Quinnipiac handle Manhattan well in Hamden before, so I think it happens again tonight.
Huge tournament implications tonight. 7 p.m. at the Bank. Bobcats and Jaspers will be going at it. And we'll be right back in just a minute, and we'll talk about the women's team and if they'll ever lose a conference game again.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Qcash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
This is Sports Pause.
Are you concerned with the 0-2 start to this team?
Right here, top of the circle, again, rips it past the Jaspers goalie.
What will breaking the record mean for the program himself? I mean, 138 wins.
There's the tough shot. What a nice play by Mikey Dixon.
He's good in transition. Just a really dynamic scorer he can create for himself.
And now, Emma, it's time for the top 5 plays of the week.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Hot Hoops. Before we dive into the women's basketball team's crucial game on Sunday, our own Shane Dennehy caught up with Trisha Fabry on a monumental win she earned last Sunday at Siena.
On Sunday afternoon, Trisha Fabry became the 4th Quinnipiac coach to win 400 games. Fabry joins the likes of Rand Pecknell, Dan Cooley, Mike Quico, and Bert Kahn. But if you think Fabry cares about that milestone win, you would be wrong.
You know, just the amount of wins, it doesn't matter. We're really just staying in the moment and taking one day at a time.
Fabry was close to quitting after struggling to make Quinnipiac a winning program, but after former athletic director Jack McDonald told her to stay, she put her head down and persevered through the tough start.
Yeah, I guess everyone goes through that. I think, we had a long way to go and a lot to build, and, perseverance, there's a lot to be said for it.
Quinnipiac has now become a mid-major power under Fabry's guidance, and her mentality has led to conference tournament titles and a Sweet 16 appearance last season. Fabry's mentality is now rubbing off on her players as well.
I mean, it just shows that hard work and dedication to really commit to the team, and obviously starting years ago, they probably weren't. They were D2 school and coming to the D1 and just working their way to the top. I mean, it's well-deserved.
Quinnipiac has now won 16 straight games, including 15 straight conference games, and it looks to be heading towards its 3rd undefeated conference season under Fabry's guidance.
It's all about the next game for Quinnipiac, and it's the one game at a time mentality that they've had that's made them so successful throughout Trisha Fabry's 23-year career here at Quinnipiac. And next up for Quinnipiac is the Marist Red Foxes on Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Reporting from Lender Court, Shane Dennehy, Q30 News.
Back here on Hot Hoops with Dylan Fearon, I'm Ryan Chichester. Dylan, now we're at a women's team that is 15-0 in the MAC. They've won 16 straight. Their average margin of victory against conference opponents is over 23 points, but they get their toughest matchup this Sunday on the road against Marist, a team they beat by just 6 at home. Does the winning streak stay alive in your mind, or are the Bobcats maybe in some trouble?
I think they might be in some trouble. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're going to lose on Saturday, but if they were going to lose in the regular season in conference play, it would be this weekend at Marist. We saw them play in Hampden earlier in the season. It was a 6-point game. Marist led pretty much the entire way until the fourth quarter, and then Quinnipiac pulls away. If they're going to lose in the regular season in conference play, it's going to be this weekend, and it's going to be a great game, and I'm excited for it because unlike every other game, they're not going to win by 30. At least I don't think so. So I'm looking forward to it. Rebecca Hand's really good for Marist. They're well coached. They've been to the tournament several times throughout the past decade or so. They've made a Sweet 16 with Brian Georges as head coach. So they're a good program. They're well coached. And I expect a tight game in Poughkeepsie.
And Marist has a little bit of a winning streak themselves. They've won 9 straight. So should the Bobcats winning streak come to an end on Sunday, do you think that actually might help a Bobcats team that hasn't lost yet, maybe heading into the MAC tournament, gives them a little sense of what it's like to lose?
You can go both ways with this because on one hand, it's like they're always being hunted by these other teams the past couple years now. They've made a Sweet 16 and they're clearly the best team in the conference this year. So all these teams are gunning for them and they're going to get the best team's effort each time now the rest of the way. And so on one hand, it's like, yeah, they could lose and it's just, they look at themselves in the mirror and like, okay, it's fine. There's one loss. We can take a loss and head into Albany, not on this crazy winning streak. But the other hand, it's like, let's just keep it going and let's not worry. Because if we lose to Marist here, then they might be thinking, oh, we already lost to them once. Now we got to face them again, possibly in the championship game. I don't know. If it was me, I'd just take the win and move on. You never like to lose. But if they are going to lose a game, again, it's going to be this one. The MAC is down this year. They're 27th in conference RPI out of 32 conferences, which is the lowest it's been in a few years. Last year was 20th, the year before 23rd. So this is a down year for the conference, even though Quinnipiac has been so good. So this is the toughest challenge so far for sure.
Yeah, the MAC really seems like Quinnipiac, Marist, and then everybody else this season. And the Bobcats have just been absolutely dominant against everybody. They beat Siena last Sunday, and that was actually Trisha Fabry's 400th win of her career.
Right.
Where do you think, just using that monumental win as an opportunity to reflect here, where do you think Trisha stands in terms of other coaches in Bobcat history?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's clearly down to her and Rand Pecknold what both have done for their respective programs. You could throw Becky Carlson in there for winning 3 national championships, but just the longitude, the length of how long they've been here. Rand Pecknold's been here forever. He's taken his team to 2 national championship games in men's ice hockey, and of course, Trisha Fabry's gone to a Sweet 16, gone to multiple NCAA tournaments. But she said to our women's basketball beat reporters the other day that 400 wins doesn't mean anything to her. It's just another win. It's just another game. They're still focused on themselves and trying to make it back to the tournament this year, the NCAA tournament. So it's a great accomplishment. 400 wins is nothing to slouch on for sure. It's a lot of wins. You got to be a great coach to get that many wins. But, I mean, she even said it herself that it doesn't really matter too much and they're focused on this weekend, which you love to hear.
And it's probably that kind of mindset which has led her to so many wins.
Right.
5 straight 20-plus seasons now, so we'll see if the Bobcats can continue their conference dominance. But that's pretty much going to do it for us here at Hot Hoops. So thanks for joining us alongside Dylan Fearon. I'm Ryan Chichester. Tonight, Bobcats and Jaspers, and women's tips off on Sunday when they face Marist.